Does anyone remember when Mr. President said this?
In addition, last week the National Association of Realtors agreed for the first time that Americans can negotiate lower commissions when they buy or sell their home. On a typical home purchase, that alone could save folks an average of $10,000 on a sale or purchase. I'm calling on realtors to follow through on lowering their commissions to protect home buyers.
All right, so he was calling on realtors to lower their commissions to protect home buyers. And apparently he's happy with the way what NAR did. Then you get articles that look like this. What more would you learn? You want to lower commissions and protect the home buyer. Now I know what we'll learn. We'll learn that the home buyer will get no representation. This new rule that changed because of NAR, they decided, hey, you know what? We're just going to get it to where the buyers have to pay for the realtors out of pocket. Let's just call it 2%, right? Of course, the seller can opt to pay for the home buyer's realtor, but there's some problems with that as well. So let's discuss what the big problem is there's multiple big problems with this new plan that NAR put into place. First, they're decoupling real estate commissions, meaning it used to happen where the listing agent will go to the seller and say, seller, my fee is 5% or 6%. But for easy numbers, let's just keep with 6%. So the seller would say he's collecting 6%, he or she, and then 3% of that 6%, the listing agent was going to take that commission and give 3% to the buyer's agent. The new rule is now that the listing agent cannot collect on behalf of the buyer's agent. The listing agent can only collect his or her fee, and from there, the buyer's agent has to negotiate their own fee now. That makes perfect sense, right? On top of that, let's think about it. It kind of doesn't make sense as a whole. Why in the world would a seller want to pay for the buyer's agent anyways? Because what you're doing is you're paying a buyer's agent to negotiate against you. You're paying a buyer's agent to say, hey, here's 3%, so what, $9,000 on a $300,000 home, and do your best to get my house sold at a lower price, do your best to get seller concessions, do your best just to work against me. On the service, that makes no sense. None whatsoever. So I understand how the elites, how they're looking at this, and they're saying, let's get rid of this whole system. It's skewed. Let's let the listing agent work for the listing agent commission. Let's let the buyer's agent work for the buyer's agent commission. But now what ends up working on paper doesn't always apply in reality. So what's really going to happen, or what's really happening now, is the rules are for a buyer's agent, in order for you to go see houses with buyers, you have to go to the buyer and say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, my fee is X. Let's just say 3% for simple numbers. My fee is 3%. You, buyer, are on the hook for my fee. And if I will try, as your realtor, I will do my best to try and collect the 3% fee from the seller. But if the seller doesn't pay me, you are on the hook for paying me. Sign this contract. So the buyer's looking at this and he's saying, okay, so how much is my down payment? Let's just call it 3% down payment. 3%, that's $9,000. Closing costs, let's just call that another $9,000. So that's $18,000. And now you're saying, Mr. and Mrs. Realtor, I'm on the hook for paying you another $9,000 for your commission? I can't afford $27,000 right off the bat. I got $20,000 in the bank. I can't afford you. So then realtor says, well, I can't work for free, so good luck. Go ahead, buy your first home, second home, third home. Buy it with no representation, buy it with no help. Mr. Biden or Mr. President or NAR, I don't know, they said, let's hope and help these home buyers. The truth is, home buyers are going to have, in many cases, zero representation. Home buyers are going to be calling listing agents right off the bat saying, hey, I don't have an agent. I can't afford an agent. What's the deal? What can we negotiate here? And the listing agent is going to eat that guy's soup. The listing agent is going to get the best deal for his seller. He's not going to talk to the buyer about inspections. He's not going to talk to him about what's wrong with the home, about the spuds. I mean, there's so much terminology in there, and there's so many things that the buyer's agent does to protect their buyer. But the buyers aren't going to get that anymore. And the listing agent is under no obligation to do that work for the buyer. So in reality, it looks like they did good on paper by saying, you know what, seller pay for listing agent, Buyer pays for buyer's agents. Unfortunately, in many cases, the people who don't have money, which is the first-time home buyers, I hate to say it, but a lot of times the minority, the low-income people, they're going to get even less help now moving forward. They're going to get even less representation by going ahead and changing up the system. This rule is taken into effect now. There's no stopping it, no going back. It's here to stay. Hopefully, buyer's agents will still be able to make a living. Hopefully, sellers will still help out with paying the buyer's agents. But let me ask you guys a question. You're selling your house, buyer says, pay me commission to work against you. Are you going to pay for that?